Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. How can the Northeast emerge from the COVID-triggered lockdown? Meaning, how can the region bring its economy back on track? This is the big question that is troubling the trade and business community in the 8 states. Should the Northeast now try and formulate a common economic strategy? And if so, what could be the core focus of this strategy? Or should the states plan the lockdown exit individually? We know that agriculture is the mainstay of the region, as most of the people are farmers. But in the absence of focus or priority by the state governments in the farm or agriculture sector, and with a small or no cold storage chain or market linkage, the farmers are not thriving. Therefore, the attention comes back to small and medium enterprises besides the tourism sector, which have been hit by the virus-triggered shutdown. To discuss the subject, I am joined from Mumbai this evening by Mr. Ranjit Barthakur, Chairman Advisory Board, FICCI, Northeast India, and Chairman and CEO of IPL franchisee Rajasthan Royals. In New Delhi, I have Mr. Madan Prasad Besbarua, former Union Tourism Secretary. I am joined from Shillong by Ms. Patricia Mukim, editor of the Shillong Times. In Imphal, I have Manipur BJP leader and leading entrepreneur, Mr. Nisikant Shapam. And at the studios in Guwahati with me, I have Mr. Abhijit Barua, a well-known technocrat and entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Let me go to you straight in Mumbai, Mr. Ranjit Barthakur. What can be the comeback strategy for the northeastern region? The region with 45 million people, already industrially underdeveloped, already have a lot of infrastructure gaps, hardly any livelihood option. But what is your prescription? How can the Northeast come back after this very long lockdown?
I do believe, hi everybody, I hope you all are well, etc., etc. I do believe that the Northeast has never been poised better than before to actually have a common strategy and a unified strategy to create the United States of the Northeast of India. And I do believe that there are so many opportunities that I cannot even stop talking about it. That's at one level. The other level is I do believe that there's a whole new paradigm shift that we need to actually reinvent as to how actually ecology, people, agriculture, and economy can be reunited with naturenomics. Let me talk about the first one. I believe tourism is a growth sector. I believe connectivity is definitely an investment sector and a growth sector. There's agroforestry. There is the Northeast as a sports hub, Northeast as a food hub, the Northeast as a bamboo capital, Northeast as a healthcare hub, Northeast as an education hub, and Northeast as a progressive taxation hub. And for revenue, to create the first Eastern Himalayan Naturenomics bond. It will be a bond which is for 15 years for the resurrection of the entire Eastern Himalayan region. Okay. So that is on the one side. The other side, and I'll finish in 1 second, the other side is how do you actually begin new history by talking about the end of measurement through the Industrial Revolution and actually start measuring the entire economy through the natural resources it has. For example, Arunachal is probably the largest in per capita sort of green cover, carbon sink, oxygen releaser. How do you actually use that? How do we use actually the safe Northeast for travel and tourism, the safe Northeast for food? So I think there's a whole new economy that needs to be done. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it and we'll expand on that. Very quickly, let me get the opening remarks of everybody on the panel. Mr. MP Bezbarwa, former Union Tourism Secretary, former member of the Northeastern Council. Mr. Bezbarwa, first of all, would you like to accept the fact that the Northeast is a single entity? Would you like to look at the Northeast as a single entity? Can there be a joint or common economic regeneration plan for the region as a whole? First of all, let's begin there. Mr. Bezbarwa.
Wasbir, let me say that I will go a little bit beyond that. So I'm very happy that you are trying to talk about what needs to be done after the COVID hopefully is over. And this is the time to look at it. And I look at a simple solution. Simple solution would be that first you look at whatever was the situation before COVID and how to revive that fully, because many of them would have become sick. And secondly, you think of doing something new and better for the Northeast for the future. And if you talk about the reviving the economy the way it was earlier, providing money and liquidity to the middle and small income people, to the farmers and all, I would say that the initiative should be state specific. It should be primarily driven by the states, but then it should be perhaps coordinated with the Northeast as a whole, because we are dependent on each other. Lots of things depend on each other.
Okay.
But if you think of regeneration of new activities and doing something new, the agenda is always there that we need to think of the region as a whole. We can talk about, for example, which we cannot talk about now, tourism, water resources management, network of cold storages, etc. for horticulture. I'm trying to say that those things will come more in the joint and coordinated activities among the entire Northeast. But if you think of revival, primary emphasis will have to be from each of the states.
Okay. So it seems that both Mr. Ranjit Borthakur and Mr. MP Bezbarwa thinks that there can be a joint strategy, joint economic regeneration plan for the Northeast. Ms. Patricia Mukim, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Miss Patricia Mukim.
Yeah, what Mr. Borthakur was saying. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, okay. No, so I didn't hear Mr. Borthakur, but I could hear Mr. Bezbarwa. I believe that the states will have to craft out their own economic resurgence. They'll have to find out what are their strong and weak links. They will have to do a lot of homework. It cannot be back to business as usual. They'll have to find newer areas that they haven't explored in the past. And also, they might have to think of the manufacturing sector as well, because they have to create a lot of jobs. And if you have to think of the manufacturing sector, then states like Meghalaya will have to have a relook at their land use policy. Because creating any industry here has become a huge bottleneck only because land acquisition is such a difficult issue. It's not very transparent. So that is important. And then, of course, you need an integrated policy for the region, because tourism, for instance, is interconnected. And like Mr. Bezbarwa says, water resources, agricultural planning and management, and especially marketing. Marketing is the weakest link for us. Which is the direction we should take for marketing? Okay. Should it be to the rest of India? Should it be to Southeast Asia? Should it be through Bangladesh? We are not very sorted out on these issues. And I think we need to be very clear. The other day, Mr. Zoram Thanga was speaking about Bangladesh and Burma. He was talking of the Sitwe port through the Galadan River. But if I understand that correctly, that's a very, very difficult way to traverse. It will not be feasible for trade and commerce. It's more of a security.
We will come back. We will come back to that.
It's meant for security purposes.
We will come back to that, Mr. Abhijit Barua. Now, we are asking about all this because today, the Northeast has only 25 active COVID cases in a population of 45 million. Now, how do we quickly capitalize on this situation? As Ranjit Barthakur said right at the beginning, that we are very, well poised to actually lead and make a comeback. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I think as far as the Northeast is concerned, it's time to move on. We have been able to take care of the coronavirus problem to a large extent. Maybe it is due to our inherent immunity, maybe it's due to the excellent work put in by the state governments, or maybe it is due to the BCG vaccines we have taken. We don't know what is the reason, but the fact is that we have very few cases here. And the fact that the Northeast is linked to the mainland India only by the chicken neck has been to our advantage in this case. So I think it is now time to think ahead and how to kickstart the economy. This is where the thinking has to be totally new. Okay. We cannot go back to our earlier thinking. We have to look inside. We have to remember that the world is now going to be totally de-globalized. For the last 30 years, it was the globalization that was ruling the whole world. The economies where the countries were opening up, exports and imports were the main thing. Manufacturing was taking place anywhere. People were moving from one country to the other. Yeah. But now it's going to be the exactly opposite. Imports and exports will come down. There will be total ban or very little movement. So we have
to come up with new strategies. We have to come up with internally generated strategies, perhaps, which can sustain us through. I'm coming back to you, Ranjit Barthakur, but before that, Nishikant Shapam in Imphal. Nishikant, a landlocked state like Manipur, with an access to Myanmar, where also the COVID cases are pretty low. Do you see an opportunity there? What is the comeback plan as far as Manipur is concerned, according to you? You are also, apart from being a BJP leader, you are also an entrepreneur yourself.
Yeah, good evening, Wasbir. We are very, very dependent on Guwahati. As long as Guwahati gets connected to the rest of the country, where Guwahati is in good supply of basic stuff for business, and Manipur needs to be connected with Guwahati. As far as Manipur is concerned, it won't be such a problem to get back to normalcy, because our basic economy is agriculture. Rest, we have so many government employees, we depend on them. The central government employees, the paramilitary, the military, army, they're all being paid. And all we need is a good connection with Guwahati and a good supply of fertilizers for our farmers. And I hope the monsoons this time is better than the last time. And I think it won't be such a big problem as long as the connectivity is intact with Guwahati, because Guwahati is the gateway, even though it has to pass through the chicken neck. But eventually, Guwahati is the gateway for the Northeast, and that's the way we see it. We are more dependent on Guwahati. Okay. So that's the way I see it. It's not a big issue with the economy. I don't think it should be difficult at all.
Okay, it should not be difficult at all. That's what.
Not in Manipur.
Okay.
Yes, and of course, normalcy has to come in so that even the tourism has to kickstart.
Absolutely, whether that happens sooner or not, that is something we have to wait and watch. Mr. Ranjit Barthakur, employment. Unemployment has already been a very huge issue in the northeastern states. Now, with lakhs of our people, workers and students coming back home after the lockdown, and many of these workers were working in the unorganized private sector. Many of them may not have their jobs back anymore. So, what is the long and short-term strategy according to you? You must have applied your mind. What very, very to the point. What are some of the things according to you?
See, I believe in the short-term strategy. All our construction projects should be given a quick start. Two is, we have to restore and promote the Northeast as a very safe destination for tourism, and therefore connectivity of inward travel, be it by train, plane or cars, should be completely encouraged, and intra-state travel should be encouraged. So that is the short term. In the long term, I don't believe it's business as usual.
Right.
And like all my predecessors have said, the business unusual story is that how can the Northeast create and redefine all its natural resources and kickstart the rural economy? So agri-tourism, agriculture and rural tourism as against the urban renewal mission, we should have the rural renewal mission in the Northeast to actually keep the Northeast going. That will create not only short-term but definitely long-term employment, because it will create demand and supply mechanisms for that. And actually, what we've been trying in my own situation around the Tezpur area, we have tried this, and actually creating and valuing natural assets for natural capital and therefore kickstarting employment, I think is the answer for the Northeast for sure.
But you agree that, I was asking this to Mr. Abhijit Barua, you agree that with only 25 COVID positive cases in a population of 45 million and only Assam, and that 25 in only Assam and Meghalaya, rest of the 6 states are COVID free as we are talking today, Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur. So therefore, as you said, Northeast has to be very quickly projected as a safe destination for internal travel.
Absolutely. Correct. So it should be, and therefore, the long-term strategic thinking has been built on India's structure from 1947 based on Planning Commission and based on very good inputs in the reconstruction. But I think if you want to turbocharge the Northeast, you have to look at the interdependence between nature and economics and see how these two are added to actually kickstart it. For example, when you think big, every northeastern state can become a bamboo hub, and we could become the bamboo capital of the world. We can displace Myanmar as becoming the food hub and becoming the rice hub of the world. So there are many things we can think about much bigger than we could ever do before. And it's not about post-COVID, but COVID is a very good example to say as to where history of the past ends and where a new history begins. So we should make this an excuse to project our future.
I think it's a very, very interesting suggestion there. Mr. MP Basbarwa, there is talk of tourism, as Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur is also saying. But is tourism really likely in the near future? A lot of people are saying that tourism will not be happening anytime soon. What could be a workable economic strategy then for the Northeast once the lockdown gets lifted or eased? Mr. Basbarwa.
Well, lockdown is not likely to be lifted very soon fully. But whatever is lifted, the primary emphasis now should be on the medium and small and medium enterprises. They will need liquidity, they will need credit guarantee, they will need incentives, they will need payroll support, and those are the things we must do. And the second thing we must do immediately is that the farm sector, whatever activities we take up for economic, providing income, should be primarily on the farm sector. Our next season should not be lost. We have not lost the winter season, but we must ensure that we don't lose the summer season as well. Summer season must be fully cropped, and that is where the emphasis should be. And there, I suppose, activities which help the farm sector, that will be ideal, because you will have to give a lot of support.
Right.
And those supports should be oriented towards doing something. Constructive assets. And,
Mr. Basbarwa, you are laying emphasis on the farm sector, but I'm coming to you, Ms. Patricia Mukim. But Mr. Basbarwa, the focus on agriculture in the Northeast is totally missing. We have not yet been able to make it as an industry. We are happy with single cropping. There is no cold storage, no market linkage. Therefore, during the lockdown, we have seen farmers in bad shape. They are crying, lamenting over their crop loss. Mr. Basbarwa.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's as we go out of COVID. And but then, of course, we'll also need, the problem would be that the government would not have a lot of fund to provide support to all the sectors. Particularly medium and small industries will need a lot of support. Now, their money would come only if we can, after COVID, encourage industries to come into the Northeast to invest in areas where we have comparative advantage in resources like petrochemicals, like horticulture, and those areas, tourism, and they also should come in to provide, areas where we are depending on outside the Northeast for most of our requirements, and where we can produce those things. Now, I would suggest that we should go in for something in synchronization with Government of India, what is being called, no, I'll be talking about Make in the Northeast. Make in the Northeast.
Okay, let's keep everybody on the screen. Yes, now the point is, Ms. Patricia Mukims, for 70 years, we have been saying that we are an agrarian economy, 70 years plus after independence, we have so many state governments come and go. But why is it that, how long can you wait for big industries to come and open shop in the northeastern region? Why can't we do something about our agriculture? Why can't we send out in a proper organized manner, export our products? Why is it that some one or two individuals are only exporting, rest of the people have no access to, they don't know how to carry out export-import?
Wasbir, I think I would sound a word of caution on those who say that we should open up completely, the sooner the better, because once you open up, especially if you open up the tourism sector, then, when there's movement of people, then I think it can lead to disaster, because COVID is a disease essentially of people who move from place to place. So we should tread a little cautiously on that. And talking about the agricultural sector, let's face it, we have the Northeastern Council. See, you need an institution to guide, to mentor the states, to tell them what are their strengths and what are their inherent weaknesses. But the Northeastern Council and then the donor ministry have failed repeatedly to show this, this new strategy. And at the moment, I think it's also important because COVID has to teach us some lessons. And I would like to think that the lesson that we should learn is that we cannot have industries that are not environmentally sustainable. Now, for instance, Meghalaya might just say that we need revenue, so we will go back to opening the coal mining industry without even a plan of action, without a mining policy. Now, that is not done because we've seen the havoc it has caused. We don't want to go back and repeat that because the very essence of COVID is also very environmentally related.
Now, lot of caution sounded by Patricia Mukim. Lot of caution sounded there by Patricia Mukim. I'm coming to you, Ranjit Borthakur and Nisikant Sapam. Abhijit Barua, very quickly, focus on agriculture. That is just not there. What can we do about it? And tourism, I would like Mr. Ranjit Borthakur to explain a little bit because that may or may not be able to be opened that quickly. But Abhijit Barua, focus on agriculture missing.
You see, the agriculture has certain limitations. In every country, the contribution of agriculture to the GDP is gradually decreasing. Even in the state or even in the northeastern states, the contribution of agriculture is decreasing. So we need to now focus on value-added agriculture. Go for exotic fruits and new crops and all that. But what I would like to emphasize more is on entrepreneurship. This is where actually the Northeast can create jobs for the lakhs of its population. We need to encourage the entrepreneurs to set up their own business, and in particular, I would like to focus on the technocrat entrepreneurs of the state, of the region, who are currently working outside of India or even in metros. They should be encouraged to come back home and set up technology-based industries, technology-based businesses, where sitting in Guwahati, they can provide service to all over the world. And I think this is where the state governments have to come and give a lot of incentives to the young people, make sure that the finances are available, make sure that all the hand-holding is done, and the infrastructure required for these kind of IT-based industries are made available. If that is the way I see the Northeast can really, grow big in one focus area, which I feel would be technology-based, IT-driven industries.
Okay. Now, before I go to Mr. Nisikant Sapam, Mr. Ranjit Borthakur, now, we are saying that we are now, the trend in the world is that, lot of Chinese companies, lot of companies in China are now planning to pull out of China, and lot of companies are also looking at the India option. Now, do you think Northeast has an option, Northeast as an opportunity there waiting to be seized, then what is the role of the government of India, or do you think it is too much to expect?
I think that, I think for an economy, say roughly Assam's state budget is 1 lakh crores. If you look at all the other states combined, that's another 50 crores. That is too infinitesimally small. And without actually getting your core sector right, which is the connectivity. And connectivity includes ICT, what Abhijit was saying, ICT connection. Unless you have the basics in place, you can't really attract investment, one. Two is, I do not understand the word industry investment. Industry is a subject of the past. I don't think industry really is going to change the whole thing. So the whole idea is that if you get construction, if you get rural construction, and if you focus on the rural sector, which is definitely on agriculture, because that's the bottom of the pyramid. As we have seen, the people at the bottom of the pyramid have actually been suffering.
But when you say
we need to create employment, we need to create employment.
Then what about, Mr. Barthakur, what about Manrega, take the case of Assam. Assam is thrown open construction of embankments in view of the coming monsoon so that the rural people can get some money out of their day-to-day work. So this is also there can be one approach, isn't it?
Of course, definitely. But I'm saying this is all fixes. I'm saying in the medium and long term, while in the short term, Manrega and everything will work, we need to focus. See, people are saying agriculture is not good. Look at the tea industry. It's agriculture. You can call it under industry, but there is no bigger agriculture industry where actually people employed in the tea industry are 3 million, non-dependent. The entire multiplier is 8 million people are definitely employed with the cars, vehicles, transportation in the tea industry out of the 35 million in India, in Assam. And if you look at Arunachal, look at Nagaland, they've also started growing tea. So I think agriculture and value-added agriculture, as was said, and agroforestry, I think is the way forward. In that, I just think that bamboos is going to really take the light. In coming to the China thing, why will people come here? What is your competitive advantage? Neither do you have infrastructure on that. But to make a competitive advantage, you can do that. And last point I'd like to highlight is that we do not have land. If the government is clear as to where they want it, they don't want to spoil land by also meaning polluting it. Just look at Guwahati and beyond. We've just got industry just because we've got concessions. Sure, there's employment. See, it's life and livelihoods. In the long run, do you want to take advantage of your green hub? Do you want to say we'll create the first green bond? I believe that you can create a green bond of 10,000 lakh crores of rupees to say this green bond, these are the employment mechanisms, this is what we'll do in the 5-year, 10-year and 15-year and actually be able to restore the economy. I just believe there has to be an income source.
Absolutely, income source. Now Nisikant Sapam, I'll have to go for a break, but Nisikant Sapam, education and healthcare can be two focus areas as far as Manipur is concerned, because thousands of your young people are going to study outside Manipur, just basic study. Not that everybody has gone to study specialized courses. They are going out of Manipur to have basic education. And can't you stop that? And that will also generate economic activity. Can't the government pitch in there along with the private sector?
Yeah, first of all, I want to answer to your previous question about the economy. You skipped me. People spoke a lot, but they just forgot about the infrastructure. The Northeast is very sad with infrastructure, and with regards to the manufacturers coming out from China and trying to make India another destination, India is still short of infrastructure, and Northeast is way, way behind. And with regards to agriculture, nobody mentioned irrigation. You look at Punjab. Punjab has a fantastic irrigation system which runs along the state highway. Northeast needs an irrigation system. Now, with regards to education, yes, we need good schools. Therefore, we need good schools. The government schools don't function properly, and private schools are not up to the mark. So most of the people who have a decent income, everybody wants their children to be educated outside. Properly. So that's why they look for schools outside. If Manipur had better schools with better infrastructure, I'm sure that people would love to keep their children close to them.
Absolutely, that is definitely...
When I say school, I mean school. I mean, I don't mean education centers, tuition centers. School, I mean, which has
proper schools.
co-curricular activities, classrooms, everything, a proper education system.
Proper
and
education
which can
system,
give you good exposure.
and that is absolutely not
Not just book
impossible.
knowledge.
That is not impossible even in a far-flung, landlocked state like Manipur. That can easily be done with
but
a
you
government,
need smart people
sector.
coming up who have good idea about education. Then only things can happen. I don't know how many people have a great idea about education. I don't know how many people even understand how a school should be. It's just not about reading books. It's about building characters. And then you need a proper system where you have inter-schools, sports, everything. That's how a character is built. And Manipur,
Absolutely.
I don't see
I think the government and the private sector,
state government has to play in also.
Government and the private sector both have a responsibility. I'll go for a short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Let me go straight to you, Mr. MP Besbarwa in New Delhi. Mr. MP Besbarwa, what is the Act East policy for if we cannot even look at our neighboring countries with whom we have some kind of connectivity to do business? So does Act East need to be expedited? Does it need a revamp? Does it need a little tweaking here and there? What do you think?
Its main achievements have been in connectivity, I must say, but connectivity with various regions have not led to trade to the extent that we had expected. Yes, it has helped the border areas in border trades and all. So I think the Look East and Act East policy for the Northeast must need a very deep review, because after COVID, regional cooperation would be a prime activity, because the world is going to change quite a lot. Global village has been totally torn apart, and to become global again, and the globalization will take some time. And in this time, the regional resources, regional cooperation. Say, if we talk of Northeast, Assam can talk about region with the entire region. If we talk of the Northeast as a whole, we could talk about South Asia, Southeast Asia, and all. That is very important, and we should look at Look East policy again.
Now, Mr. I'm coming to you, Ms. Patricia Mukim, Ranjit Bhattakur. The other day I was talking to the Assam Agriculture Minister. I was posing a very simple question to him. We have seen images of farmers in Assam literally crying over their crop loss, which are rotting in the fields for lack of a market. So I was asking the Agriculture Minister, why don't the Assam Agriculture Ministry just go and buy these farm products and do whatever they like with it? Then he said, oh, we are thinking of exporting it to Dubai because we are trying to talk with some airline company. And now my question is how, exporting one plane load will not help. Who is asking for it in any way? So now take neighboring Sylhet in Bangladesh, which is 5 hours away from Guwahati. Every day, before the lockdown, of course, every day there are many flights going to various parts of the world, taking agricultural produce, Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur. Okay, let me take the same question to Patricia Mukim. Patricia Mukim, the same question goes to you.
I'd like to come in here because I think I need to say a few things before we speak about exports and all that. If we are opening up the economy again, we need a climate of security, Wasbir, and the Northeast is very infamous for its bans and curfews and all that. And once COVID is done, then the states will start getting to demanding for inner line permit and a whole range of other things. Now, anyone who comes to invest in the region will want to secure his investment. He will not want to come and invest, he or she will not want to come and invest in an insecure region. But apart from that, this region itself has always been seen as a region of, it's been seen from very security centric prism. That also must dissipate now. We cannot look at the Northeast as a security centric region. The government of India has to be more open about it, about FDI coming in. And then even the ease of doing business. It's really very, very, dependent on your political alliances, who you know in the government. It shouldn't be like that. There must, anything that needs clearance
Right.
should be time bound. So the ease of doing business means you cannot
So
have
that restriction,
a file
you're basically
hanging
saying that
fire for over 90
restrictions
days.
will have to go. Restrictions will have to go. To too many restrictions and ease of doing business, one has to feel secure. That's a very, very critical points made by Patricia Mukim. Abhijit Barua, as an entrepreneur yourself.
Another point I want to make is...
I'll come back to that. I think as an entrepreneur yourself, these are very important points raised by Ms. Patricia Mukim. How do you attract investment when you have inner line permit to, even after landing in Guwahati, you can't go anywhere in the Northeast?
Wasbir, I would like to again emphasize that it is time to really think away from attracting big investment, because nobody is going to venture out from his home now for a long, long time. Everybody will be home centric. So basically, we need to concentrate and focus on our homegrown entrepreneurs. And this is where, because they are going to be all first generation entrepreneurs, the hand holding and ease of doing business is very, very important. The government of this region has of course liberalized many of the procedures needed to start an industry or a business, but it needs to be much more liberalized. There are a lot of red tapeism here, and the time it takes to get the clearances, there are close to 100 clearance a business has to take before it can function.
So that is indeed. Now, Nisikant Sapam, now states like Meghalaya is agitating for inner line permit, and even Manipur has, I think, introduced inner line permit. So don't you think that these are obstacles? Already we have very limited options. I'm talking to Nisikant Sapam. Already we have limited options. So what is your take on that? Yes, Mr. Ranjit Borthakur is back. I'll go to you. Yes, Nisikant Sapam.
Okay, inner line permit, of course, is a deterrent. I mean, it doesn't help tourism at all, but it has a different reason why it was introduced. But having said that, definitely it doesn't help tourism at all. In fact, it acts negatively. And the government has to be very smart and into giving an inner line permit. As they come, it should be given like, I don't know, maybe online stuff, apps made so that people can come in easily, anytime. And that's how it should be. Otherwise, it doesn't help tourism in a line permit. It was introduced for another cause.
Absolutely. I think that is a very plain statement there from Nisikant Sapam. Mr. Ranjit Borthakur, can you hear? Mr. Ranjit Borthakur, what is your take? Mr. Abhijit Barua and Ms. Patricia Mukim said that, you have, as an investor, you have to feel secure about your investment and the ease of doing business. Now, with the inner line restrictions in several of the states and new states asking for inner line regulations, Northeast is not a particularly good investment destination.
No, I believe all these are conditions precedent to any investment. And I'm saying people who have invested, like I'm already invested in tourism, I'm invested in the tea industry, I'm invested in sports, and I have a very interesting sort of thought for the Northeast in terms of investment. I think we get by what we want to do. I think to look for too many concessions on a theoretical basis, I think is a good idea. But we can, even if you get all those concessions, finally, to get the concessions is a hassle. And we've seen this, Mr. Bezborwa will know this, Abhijit will know this. So I think some of the people have got it, some haven't got it, and then the line is there. I think condition precedent to coming to the Northeast is absolutely connectivity and ease of doing business in the following areas, which is getting the appraisals done, getting your land done, getting finances done, certificates done, and inner line permit. We don't want any more restriction. I believe these inner line restrictions that are being brought about, I think are temporary phenomena. It's a passing democracy, so we have various issues and various pulls and pressures. But I hope that it goes away. Otherwise, it'll destroy the entire economy. The CAA issue destroyed tourism in the end of November, December.
Yeah.
Then we had this whole situation of COVID. And I'm saying, so there will always be these hassles in business. But the point is, if you don't look at it long term, if you don't preserve our nature, open it up to dirty industry, and you see the oil industry now. I'm saying if the prices continue at 10 rupees to 20 rupees, we are totally finished. The royalties of no use. But on the other hand, if we actually invest in ideas, which is in the services sector like Abhijit alluded to, and the other ideas of entire agroforestry, we will not be able to move ahead. In the short run, your M-Narega issues, in the short run, connectivity. So the broader framework has to be first understood. Connectivity in whole, which includes ICT. If you don't get all that ready, you'll never get investment.
Okay, so those are very, very precise points which Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur has made. Let me go to Mr. MP Besbarua. A lot of people talk about value addition. A little while ago, Mr. Abhijit Barua also talked about value addition. Now, a lot of people say that region's future lies in value addition, like in the food processing sector, exporting the produce, etc. But my question is, something which you could not do for 70 years, can we do it overnight?
Will not be overnight, but if we have a change in the approach, it certainly can be done. There is now an atmosphere that we should look beyond China, the Chinese products. And that is the time where, Northeast horticulture and food processing has been taken over by producers outside Northeast. And that's a pity. Sometimes it is okay, the Bangladesh food processing activities which are exported to India, good from regional cooperation point of view, but there is a possibility of a joint endeavor so that even Bangladesh and their entrepreneurs, our entrepreneurs both prosper. Those are the areas which need complete review now. I would suggest that the post-COVID review of what has happened to our economy, how much it has been damaged and where it has been damaged. Only then we can think of taking what steps we need to take. Yes.
Okay, now I'm coming to you, Patricia Mukim. You are saying that you said a little while ago that we have to think about our environment. Yes, nobody can dispute that. But in a state like Meghalaya, where there are very few options, as the Chief Minister the other day said, mining and cement plants and mining are the two most important industrial activity in Meghalaya. Now, how much of restrictions will you do? What is the alternative? At the end of the day, you have to take care of unemployment. You have to feed the people who do not have jobs.
No, you can't do it at the cost of the environment, Wasbir. It has very, very serious consequences. You don't want mining tragedies. Of course, you want to take out your coal, you want to extract your coal, you want to extract your limestone, and you need to do that, but you need to do it in a very environmentally sound manner. Because, this, like I said earlier, and I will repeat this, one of the things that COVID teaches us is that we have to be a little more conscious about the damage we are doing to our environment. And now coming back to small and medium scale industries, see, now during this health emergency, we have people at the household level stitching masks and distributing them or selling them or doing all kinds of things. Sometimes these emergencies also bring out the best in humankind. So I'm just looking at one aspect of it. And one aspect of it is that when you look at umbrellas, anywhere in any part of the world, if you want to buy an umbrella, it is made in China. You can never get an umbrella made in that country. Now the Northeast, I think, is poised for that sort of industry. It may take some investment, but also we have the skills. And we need to build the skills. Actually, skill building is a very key factor for us in the region.
Absolutely. Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur, Patricia Mukhemi is talking about some local skills that we have. But the point is, where is the BPO sector in the Northeast? A lot of people were talking earlier that, oh, we have got a huge potential that doesn't require too much of infrastructure. I mean, you talked about the sports industry, but we are known as a sporting powerhouse. But as far as transforming sports into an industrial activity, very few people, you are of course an exception, are doing it. Agriculture as an industry is not to be seen, Mr. Bhattakur.
So I think I would agree with Patricia. See, there's a thing called the next 5-year horizon and a 10-year horizon. If you notice that coal industry is slowly being banned, the coal industry, just HSBC recently will not power it. Chinese banks have stopped powering the coal industry. So actually a lot of the mining activity that we talk about, whether it's related with coal or whether it's related with limestone, the question is that we have to actually go back to the drawing board and see what will be the new world. In the case of Meghalaya, it is absolutely ready for more tourism. It is ready for more ecotourism, village tourism, and infrastructure, which is mindful tourism, and it's ready for agroforestry. And this agroforestry, in our mind, we are still stuck in the thing of saying that we want things in packets, we want to market it. All these things are automatically will follow because we already have the infrastructure for agriculture, pepper, and so many other items, in Tura or in Nongrim, in Joai area. So I think this marketing will happen once the connectivity is there. If I gave a plane load of saying that this is the fresh plane load, this plane load will get you things from Tura and Shillong to Delhi fresh. So that is the marketing innovation that we have to think, not packaging innovation, not branding innovation, not promoting the Northeast, but we are not getting our goods in time for consumption and fresh. And tourism, to add to Mr. Baisborwa's point, I think in the short run, we must encourage local intrastate tourism in the Northeast.
Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur, it has been now 2 months that we have been hit by this COVID, lockdown and disruption, I would say, in India. Now, in the last 5-6 weeks, we have not seen the chief ministers of the northeastern region talking amongst themselves. Yes, our Prime Minister is leading from the front, Prime Minister is holding meetings. Medical aspect is one part, but no one is talking about how to bring the economy back. That is what is lacking.
I don't know about lacking. It's very difficult when you have a fire on in your house to think about income for the neighbor. So I think it's not fair to actually put, whether it's a politician, bureaucrat or leader, they're going out of their way. I'm saying I live in Bombay, so I know all my friends who are in the bureaucracy or the politicians. They are basically having day and night. They're not even sleeping.
Yeah, but
and in the Northeast, in the Northeast.
I know. I agree with you. The point I'm making is that there are the people in the health ministry, there are the people in the administration, there are the people in the transport sector who are busy with COVID. But what about people in the agriculture sector? What about people in the horticulture, fisheries, veterinary? What are these people doing?
I completely agree. The point is that while the health minister has personally gone all over very fast and all over the place, I think he may be the leader for the Northeast who should be unifying and calling for meeting otherwise. He should be the person who in Assam should be talking about direction in the rural areas because good economy is good health, So finally, if the agriculture minister and the agriculture department are not focused on their work but focused on COVID, then that's a priority of the government which I can't comment on.
Absolutely. Abhijit Barua, final comments. What is the road ahead now, very quickly?
Apart from entrepreneurship and startup that I have already spoken, I would also like to talk about the infrastructure. The government of India and the state governments of the region must focus on infrastructure building now. This is the time to complete all the road projects, the bridges, the railway lines, the airports. This is where the lakhs and lakhs of our youth who have been working outside and who are now going to come back may be engaged. And this is what is going to take us to the level of the other states of the country. So infrastructure development, construction is our priority area.
Construction, the priority area, and that is the area, as Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur had also said, where the returnees and the workforce can be engaged. It is going to boost our infrastructure as well as provide livelihood options for the people. Nisikant Sapam, your final comments, 2-3 points very quickly.
On what? Of
On
course,
the road
infrastructure,
ahead. What is the
definitely.
road ahead?
And road ahead is, of course, be careful, maintain physical distance, and yet you have to start work, and things have to open up. But in the long term, of course, infrastructure is the main issue. And infrastructure, it doesn't take, it takes more than 20-30 years to build proper infrastructure, but we must be at it. And as of now, let's have social, physical distancing and do what we have to do. Wherever it's possible, I think we should go into it.
Absolutely.
जान है तो जहाँ है, अब जान भी होना चाहिए और जहाँ भी होना चाहिए.
Jaan hai to jahan hai to, that is fine. Let me go quickly to Mr. MP Basbarwa. You know, we have been seeing that, you know, people are doling out cash to farmers, some of the governments as lockdown relief. Do you think buying farm produce would have been a more workable idea?
Well, perhaps immediately there was not a possibility of doing that, I have a feeling. But yes, the first priority should have been to ensure that the lockdown cities get their supplies from the villages the way they used to do earlier from, you know, middlemen and others. The government could have ensured that those, you know, supply lines are kept alive. The farmers get whatever is due to them. And if they are not getting whatever was due to them, that could be subsidized instead of giving full subsidy.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have liked that strategy better.
All right. Ms. Patricia Mukim, what are we poised for? What are we looking at in the future, in the days ahead?
No, I want to come back to what you asked earlier. Why the state governments have not come together to discuss future economic activities.
Yeah.
Now, under what aegis would they have come together? They could have come together if donor had called them, or the NEC had called them, or if the Prime Minister had called them for a separate meeting. Now, I would like to propose that, you know, the Northeast also needs a Niti Aayog kind of institution, because as far as I can see, the present institutions that we have are not working. And I want to come also to this point, Wasbir, that we need to do a stock taking of our existing institutions and see which ones are not working, which ones do not give us any outcomes, and do away with them. And somebody was speaking about the labor coming in, and they might be employed in the construction industry. We also need to do a stock taking of the human resource that was outside and will be coming in now. How many of those actually are in the construction business? How many are doing some other jobs? Because if you look at the Northeast, you have a lot of migrant labor from Bangladesh willy-nilly that come in to do the construction work. It's not our own people that do it. So what is the kind of labor that our people from here are going outside to do? And can we create those sort of employment opportunities here within the region?
Okay. Absolutely important points there. Mr. Ranjit Bhattakur, final comments from you.
Thank you. One is, I think our first priority should be to continue our aggressive putting down of COVID, and that is by testing, testing, and testing. The second thing that we must do is quarantine, but not have stigma. So if one person has it, to quarantine a whole place is not required. If one person has it and the other people don't have it, only the person who has it, there should not be stigma and untouchability, which seems to be coming in. Third is we should have quick delivery from a macro level, which applies to Assam. The government of India have three big sources of where they can be imaginative. They've got a very good foreign exchange reserve. They've got a very big Reserve Bank of India has a very big reserve, and there's a big food reserve. So I think the food reserve, the Reserve Bank of India, and the entire foreign exchange reserve, without spending it and without reducing your assets, I think these could be, with creative financing, help all the states to get all the things that the other panelists have very sort of put
Absolutely,
forth very
Mr.
aggressively.
Absolutely, Mr. Ranjit Bhattakar, you are bang on there. But the challenge now is to how to, generate some of these ideas and get it implemented. We have a lot of ideas, but how to channelize it into governmental action plan, that is something which is the challenge. And as Patricia Mukim said, somebody has to take the lead in having these dialogues so that we can formulate our strategy and move ahead in implementing them. I would like to thank all my panelists for participating in this very engaging discussion and the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.
Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.